Hi, I'm Russ Ballard, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second Voices of Russ Ballard podcast with me, Ian, and my friend in Germany, Sven. Good morning, Sven.
Good morning, Ian. Good morning, world. We are back with podcast number 2, and I'm very sure that we can present you a star guest today.
I think you're right. The cosmos of Russ Ballard, as you named it in the first podcast, Sven, and here we are in the cosmos. I can see the stars when I look up. And talking of stars, so our guest today is a legend. He's a very, very, very nice guy. He's got personality to burn. He's also one of the first, in terms of Russ's musical career, obviously was there right at the beginning. He's got tons of stories to tell. And as I say, he's one of the nicest guys around. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Mr. John Mod Rogan. A round of applause, please.
Welcome.
Welcome, Mod.
Thank you so much for those wonderful applause. I feel really gratified and quite emotional. In fact, I don't think this can go on. I think I'm going to break down. Just a moment.
Okay, just give him a
right,
minute. That's fine.
Can we have a commercial break while Mod breaks down? No. Okay, maybe not.
Well, yeah, I could give something to you guys. So, look, is this the real Mod, or is this just fantasy caught in a podcast? Okay, I think
reality.
He's doing better now.
He looks pretty. I know the listeners can't see him, but he looks pretty real to me. Good looking chap.
Yeah.
Good looking
boy.
boy.
Very comfortable, Sven. I'm very comfortable.
Let's get straight to it, shall we, Mod? And what we're going to do is to follow just some questions. We have questions for you relating to the early days, relating to, of course, Adam Faith, the Roulettes themselves, and then after the Roulettes in your recent years. So we really look forward to this.
Okay.
So let's go right back to the beginning, Mod, in terms of yourself. Tell us a little bit about, your birthplace. I think you grew up in the Northeast. I won't spoil that anymore.
I did.
And did you come from a musical family? Tell us about the early days, Mod.
Okay. Well, I've made a few notes because one's memory is not so good in one's later age. But here we go. I was the youngest of 15 children born to my mum and dad in the northeast of England, which was in Hartlepool. But when I was a young boy, I had a burning ambition to go on the stage. My mother used to do quite a few concerts in local clubs, either singing or dancing, and I did see her perform now and again. She was a very, very funny lady. I suppose that was the start of my yearning for my life in show business. To begin with, my mum managed to get enough money together to send me to piano lessons, which I very much enjoyed. When I was about 9, I began to take dancing lessons, which consisted of old favourites like tap, ballet, modern classes. It was difficult at first, as I believe I was the only boy dancer in the town and was learning to dance. They were very old-fashioned in Hartlepool, and I think they thought that ballet dancing should be left to the girls, or boys who were nearly girls, if you get my meaning.
We do.
You do, yes. Just a moment, I'm having trouble here. I was doing a lot of shows, including pantomime, which was great fun.
Oh no, you weren't.
Yes, I was. As I was the only boy in my dancing school, I always had the main part, which suited me fine. When I was about 10 or 11, somebody knocked on the door in Friar Terrace. My mum answered the door with me standing close behind her. There was a lady standing there. She asked my mum if me, being a male dancer, could befriend her son, as they had just recently moved from Portsmouth to Hartlepool. And their son, who was also a dancer, didn't know anybody and was very, very, very shy. His name was Wayne Sleep, and we all know he became an international star. It's a small world, isn't it? Do you not think it's a small world? But,
very, Sven?
Yeah.
Wayne Sleep. I think we all know Wayne Sleep from My God, he went on to be probably the biggest name in the dancing profession before
In
Strictly and all that kind of.
In England, certainly, and internationally too. But he did that famous dance with Princess Diane. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And it was so elegant, so lovely. But he's such a small chap, and he looked so insignificant and so sort of I don't know. He looked so needing of a friend, which I became for a while. And he rapidly went to London to take up a scholarship, which ended up in such a fantastic career. A good guy, good mum. They were lovely people. Yeah. Right. Anyway, after a little while, Mum bought me a guitar from an advert in a shop, and she said to me, "Would you like this guitar?" I said, "Oh gosh, I'd love it. I'd love that guitar, Mum." And she bought me the guitar, and I gave up dancing to concentrate on my new instruments. I bought a book called Bert Wheaton Plays Guitar in a Day, and I set off on my long and winding road to where I didn't know. That's a bit glamorous, isn't it? After Mum bought the guitar, I gave up the dancing lessons to concentrate on my new instruments. Oh, Bert gave me quite a good start, but I needed to join a group to be able to expand my playing. I joined a local band called the Heartbeats. After a year or so, our bass player decided to leave the band and move on, so we began to search for another bass player, which proved to be quite difficult. So it was decided that I should revert to playing the bass. Thank goodness. So when I was 19, I was working in a shop to earn a few shillings, when a guy called Bert Harris, who was Adam Faith's tour manager, came on television to ask any bass player in the northern area to audition for Adam Faith the Roulettes as their bass player. Their bass player being killed in the accident. My niece, Jacqueline, who was in the shop at the time, told me to ring up about the job. I said, no, there's no chance of me ringing, as it would be a waste of time. She insisted that if I didn't ring, I wouldn't know. So I eventually made the call. This is quite amusing. I find it amusing now. It wasn't then, because you'll hear. The conversation went something like this. Hello, Mr. Harris. My name is John Rogan, and I'm ringing to see if the job is still open for a bass player. He asked me about my qualifications, to which I said I could play bass quite well. Also, my guitar playing was quite good. In fact, I could play piano, violin, which was true. I had a lot of stage experience because I was a tap dancer and also a ballet dancer. I then got carried away, but that is true also. I then got carried away, and I mentioned the saxophone and the trumpet. Where it came from, I just don't know, but I think what clinched it was I told him I was a very good ventriloquist, which is absolutely amazingly stupid. But Bert smothered a quiet chuckle and said, well, we have hired somebody, but maybe you should come and see us at the Sunderland Empire. So off I went.
Well, that's amazing. It's amazing. Sorry, I'm just going to, I just, because there's so much here, and I don't want to forget it at the end. That's amazing that actually hired somebody, and yet they were still willing to talk, still wanted to talk to you. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. But what happened, you see, I went to the theatre, and I was directed to the stage, and I went on. I was an absolute rocker with wiggle pickers, tight jeans, and this great big quiff. Do you remember the old quiff? This big, thick, big lump of hair on your front there. You're a real kind of, rocker, that kind of thing. And I heard this handsome young man with dark glasses mutter, look at, here comes Maud. A nickname that has stayed with me for 57 years. Thanks, Russ. Fantastic. He was the one who said it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is quite nice, really, I suppose. I heard this, after about 10 minutes, Adam came sauntering across the stage in our direction. I was shocked to see there was only about 5'3", and I think I nearly lost the job straight away because I looked straight ahead, and then I looked down, and I said, "Oh, hello." And he sort of he looked at me a little bit old-fashioned. I thought I'd blown it, but he warmed me with a warm handshake and said Bert had filled him in with my musical history, which caused another hidden smile. He asked me what I would like to play with the boys. I said I would sing and play Twist and Shout. After which they were quite happy with it. And Adam and Bert went to the back of the stage to have a chat while I talked to the boys. It seemed I was drawn to Russ as he seemed to be especially friendly. So we sort of hit it off immediately. I don't know why, you know. Anyway, Adam and Bert came back with the amazing statement, "You're in the band," and offered me a wonderful sizable salary, which was 10 times what I was getting then, which was actually not a lot, but it was a lot more than I was getting. But I also had television payments and radio payments, and God, blimey, it's so big deal, I couldn't believe it.
Fantastic.
So you became a superstar within just 24 hours.
Absolutely. I mean, it was quite an amazing, Sven. It was quite an amazing experience. It probably relates something like the. Do you remember the dancer who was in the film years ago from the Northeast, Billy Elliot? It was that kind of thing, from rags to better rags, very, very quickly. Now, I watched the show a little later on, and I was knocked out with the difference between pro and semi-pro musicians. Peter Thorpe was quite an amazing guitarist. Bob Henry was fabulous as a drummer. Russ was quite an amazing guitarist for his age. The next day, I left Hartlepool for Sunderland to the hotel where the boys were staying. Russ sat with me for a few hours, teaching me the numbers I would be playing. He was very good at coaching, and it didn't seem long before he thought I was ready for my big night in Sunderland. Then came my first night with a packed audience and a wonderful atmosphere. The Roulettes did 3 or 4 numbers before the announcement was made. "Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Faith." I thought to myself in a small way, God, fame at last. After the week's shows, we left for London, which was my first big trip to anywhere. I stayed in Adam's mansion in Esher, Surrey, at first, which was very posh with a maid and a butler. My next job was flying to Singapore to appear in the Happy Valley Stadium with Adam. We stayed in a really posh hotel where Noel Coward was staying at the time. Noel Coward was a big playwright at the time. He was absolutely massive. He knew the Queen and he was so big, but he was a lovely guy. He invited us to dinner that evening, which was absolutely mind-boggling with the stories he was telling us. Russ fell asleep behind his dark glasses.
No way.
Because I think he was very tired after our long flight from the UK. Noel asked us, Adam, if he could come to the show. We said, yeah, come along. Of course, it might not be your cup of tea, but come along, please come along. Which he did. And he came dressed all in white with a big Pandora hat and wearing a lovely walking cane. He looked really impressive. He wrote about the concert in his biography, quoting that Adam was a beautiful boy, but the Roulettes were horrendously thin and were too loud. What a first experience. And that's really the start of the first 2 days.
Well, I've got thank you. That was a real wonderful insight. I've got a couple of questions. Maybe Sven has too. Just a quick question for me. So I always think of these things. How did they let the guy down gently that you replaced? In other words, they'd already appointed somebody. They thought you were marvellous. And put you in the band. How did they tell him?
At the time, knowing Tell Adam afterwards, if I do refer to Tell as Tell and not Adam, it was because that's what we called him, and I find it a bit uncomfortable calling him Adam because he was Tell to us. Do you understand?
Yep.
Tell
it is, no problem.
So, knowing him afterwards, he probably just told him to F off, and so he did. He was walking down the stairs as I was walking up. I didn't realise at the time, but he gave me a horrific grin. Well, it wasn't a grin. I think it was a grin of death. I think he wanted to kill me because I got the job, you know. But that wasn't my fault. That was the fact that I was obviously better than him. It was the ventriloquism that done it. Right.
I think it was your personality that did it.
I think it probably helped because I was so relaxed and I wasn't phased. I was comfortable with this. I mean, they were good. The band was so good. After playing semi-pro music, to listen to the way they played. It was so good, so different, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it was and Sven, of course, it was so different.
I actually went on the Wikipedia page for the Roulettes, and it actually mentions about the heartbeats on there. Interestingly,
Yes.
And I thought, what a great name for a band if you think about it. I mean,
yeah, it was Hartlepool.
Very original.
Yeah, it was Hartlepool, and it was George Hart, who was the lead guitarist, who unfortunately died when he was 63, which was also a very big pull. Even though it was a lot later in both our careers, it was not very nice to lose George.
No.
But there you go. Onwards we must go.
And also, just one more thing from the Wikipedia page, just to show us that we do our research here, Sven and I, on the Voices of Russ Ballard. Before you joined, the first live performance on stage of the Roulettes was September 1961, when Pete was the only, I'll call it the original, but the only member that I know of the
Yes, you're probably right there, Ian. Yes,
Pete was in the band, and that was at the Royal Albert Hall, September 1961.
Crazy but true.
So that's really good. Sven, if you got
Peter did tell me that. Yes.
Sven, do you have any questions? Or I know we've got some on our schedule. You got lots to ask Mod, but did you have any more that you wanted to ask Mod?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, I really wanted to let you know, and Russell's fans and all those lovely people who support him. I just wanted to let them know about my little input to the Roulettes, which to me was fantastic, but maybe to a lot of people it wasn't a lot really, but I thought it was wonderful. And I gained an amazing friend. I mean, we're here 57, well, 3 friends, but we're here now 57 years later, and we speak probably about 5 times a week, which each call lasts for about half an hour to an hour, and but we still seem to find something different to speak about, or if we speak about the same things, they're always made to be sounding new, because he was good at chatting and I was good at listening, and vice versa.
I mean, it's amazing to see how, well, you know, within just a couple of days, you were in a band. So you started as a tap dancer. Then you were in a band, in such a cool band. You met Adam Faith. I mean, you did some shows with him, and just a few days later, you flew off to Singapore to do shows. You're doing shows with Adam Faith. So everybody knows Adam Faith. And all of a sudden, you're in Singapore at the, Goodwood Park Hotel.
That's right. Quite right. Well done. Well done. Yes, you found that nice. It was the strange thing about this, Sven, and I say this hand on heart, I say this, I was never phased out. I felt as though I should have been there. I felt as though I should have been in the band and I should have achieved some kind of fame, because I'd look forward to that day from when I was a 9-year-old kid, dancing on the stage. I knew that one day I would be up there. I would be on the stage. And what a great start, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lovely start to your career. So why don't we just move on then? And you've set the scene really well of kind of the early days. And I think you've answered the question in terms of when did you first play on stage together? So maybe let's talk a little bit about Adam Faith, and we're going to call him Tell, but let's talk a little bit about Tell. What was he really like as a person?
Well, he was a very genuine guy. Can I tell you a small story which would just capulate?
Yes, please.
The niceness of Adam Faith. It's probably a side which not many people saw. I saw it when we started playing. When I started playing the band, we had a gig in Stockton-on-Tees, which was in the northeast, and doubling up with the Sunderland gig. And Tell said to me, he said, "Is there anywhere we can stay where, you know, now's a bed and breakfast, somewhere nice and comfortable?" Because he didn't particularly like great big hotels, you know. He liked the comfort of, I think he was still a mummy daddy boy. He's only 4 years into his career, you know. I mean, it's amazing now when you think about it. Yeah. And I said, there's a nice guest house in Hartlepool. He said, "Oh," he said, "that's where you come from, isn't it?" I said, yeah, that's right. He said, oh, I'd love to go there. I'd love to see Hartlepool. And the boys were all sort of, yeah, we'd love to see. They might not wanted to, but they were very nice to me about it. Anyway, they moved into this bed and breakfast, which was just round the corner of my house. And this is what the point I was getting to. Adam said to me one day, he said, any chance of coming around and meeting your mum and dad? I said, well, yeah. I said, you can. I said, but the only thing I've got to tell you now is that we're pretty poor. We didn't have a lot, and we still don't have a lot. No, they don't, but they're very happy. He said, don't worry. He said, come around for tea. I said, I'll ask Mum and Dad. Mum and Dad put tea together, and them and the boys came around, and I suppose we were all sitting around having tea. It was very, very nice tell. And they speak to Mum and Dad, and they thought the Titanic had pulled through the house. They couldn't believe what was happening, you know. But it wasn't the nicest of places. It was clean and comfortable, but it wasn't palatial, you know. And Adam must have picked up on my kind of vibe, because he said to me, Maud, can I have a word with you outside? I said, yeah, sure. I went outside and said, what's the matter, mate? He said, you don't look very comfortable. I said, you've come back from all that big mansion and stuff you've got down there, and here you are in my house in Hartlepool, which is not a mansion. I said, but, you know, he said, Maud, pull yourself together. I was living in a house like this 4 years ago. Now I'm lucky to be where I am. Stop it. Go back in there and enjoy yourself. And I never forget that small conversation. That showed a very real, warm, passionate young man. I was grateful for his telling off. Yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that.
No, that's good. So let's go the other side of the fence.
Absolutely.
Did you, for any reason, have any disagreements with him, or did any members of the band have any disagreements with him that you can remember?
We didn't have disagreements and stuff. We laughed most of the time. One time we did have one sort of pretty. I was a bit of a show off on stage, and really I was in the backing group. So I should have stuck to that. I was backing a big guy in Showbiz. Well, he wasn't a big guy, but in Highbury, he was a big guy in show business. And I used to sort of, I don't know, extend my personality. I couldn't help it, you know. I was on stage, and one day people were looking at me rather than him, he thought. And he turned around, he said, stop showing off. He said, if you don't behave, he said, and this was his statement, if you don't behave, and it's stuck with us for a long time, I'll get myself another band. And we were all sort of strummed up, and it went on, a moody went on for about 2 days, but then it was forgotten. But the statement, I'll get myself another band, stayed, because every time anything minor happened, he'd say, hey, behave, I'll get myself another band, which was really a phrase coined.
You didn't want to lose that newly formed lifestyle that you had, did you? That's the last.
Absolutely, you got it. But if you ask Russell about that, when you speak to him about that, about the thing about I'll give myself another band, we were all sort of at the time we probably thought, "Ooh, does he mean it or does he not?" But he didn't mean it.
Weren't you on the same bill as the Beatles at one point?
That was a very interesting thing, because we played in Yarmouth, which is just north of where I'm living now, and we played in a theatre, and the Beatles played in another theatre in the same place, Yarmouth. And we stayed in a hotel called the Carlton Hotel, and we went back to the hotel, and I don't know, about an hour later, after we were just sitting, sort of relaxing after the show, in walked the Beatles, and there was, oh Christ, you know, and they were just ordinary young lads. I mean, they'd only just broken. They broke after Adam Faith the Roulettes, which was quite amazing. And they were as interested to see us, and Adam mainly, obviously, as we were to see them. And so we swapped stories and stuff like that. And they said that they'd been to see Adam and Faith with the Roulettes at the Liverpool Empire just recently, before their big fame. And they said some stories about how they enjoyed it. It was more like a cabaret, and it was like not totally like a rock and roll thing. And they said, where did you get those boots you were wearing? You know, and we said, oh, these boots. We had black, lovely leather boots, which were bought from Anello and David in Shaftesbury Avenue in London. And Tell used to wear them, so we all wore them. But they they said, "Oh, we like your boots. You know, where'd you get them from? You know." So it was from there. We told them that. They bought the boots, and they became Beatle boots. They became the fabulous, famous Beatle boots, which is quite a handle, really. And the other thing was, they said, "Where do you get your suit? Where do you get your suits made?" And we said, "We'll go to a guy called Dougie Millings in London, and he makes to order, and he'll make them quick, and he'll make them good." You know, so they went there, and that's where the Beatles suits came from, and that was prompted by Adam and the boys, which was quite a big handle, really. You know.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's quite a thing, especially the boots. I mean, that's quite something.
The Beatle boots were given to them. The idea was given to them by Adam Faith and the Roulettes. That is a fact.
Brilliant.
That is so interesting to hear that you guys were the style advisors, if you want so, to the Beatles.
Possibly, yeah.
I'm pretty sure nobody has ever heard this story.
Oh, no, nobody's heard it, because I would have thought, I mean, they seem nice guys anyway, but it probably just sunk into their psyche. It was just, they were their boots, and that was the end of it. They may have remembered the story, but was it significant? It was a pair of boots, you know, but do you understand what I'm saying, Sven? It's interesting to us, and it's interesting to people, but to them it might have been, oh, well, they told us where to get the boots, and we got them. If they became Beatle boots, what difference, you know? But it was the band. It was telling the band.
So we definitely need to get Paul McCartney into this podcast, just to ask him, "Hey, Paul."
Just a moment. I think he's downstairs with Margaret.
Steady.
I'll shout him up.
Why don't you just...
I mean, that would be so funny, just asking, "Hey, Paul, where did you get your shoes from in the early 60s?"
I would think that honestly, Sven and Ian, I would think that really they would remember, because that was quite significant. It was significant. It was a big thing there.
Mod, I think.
Remember the boots?
I remember the boots, Mod. I was going to say, I think if Paul McCartney is downstairs with Margaret, you best let him be, really.
Oh, that was yesterday.
Well, very good. Help.
I can't go on from there. You're too quick for me.
So we now heard a little story of the Beatles, a very important story of the Beatles. I mean, it's always the same. So the tiny things make a difference, like proper shoes on stage. But what about other stars around your?
We used to do a lot of Ready Steady Goes and Thank You Lucky Stars, which were popular. Do you remember them, Sven? The programs, Ready Steady Go and Thank You Lucky Stars, and
he's a
all
youngster.
things like that.
Sorry, I'm a youngster.
Oh, shut up. They were very, very popular. And every time we did a Thank You Lucky Stars, and maybe the Beatles were on, they'd come and speak to us in the green room rather than anybody else, because the memories of our start. And one great thing that happened, one great, probably the greatest thing in anybody's career, is that the producer of the show of Ready Steady Go decided to do a number called "Whoa, whoa, 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 I need your love and every day." And he said there was the Beatles on one podium, who were George and Ringo, George and John. So Ringo and Paul weren't in the studio that day. There was George and Ringo. Then there was the Roulettes with Adam, and then there was the Kinks on 3 stages. And we sang this. We each sang a verse, and it was a real. I mean, we sang with the Beatles, which is quite amazing, really. You know. But then again, it was probably amazing for the Beatles at the time to sing with Adam Faith the Roulettes. That sounds a bit.
Absolutely.
No, but also the Kinks, and Mickey Avery particularly became a very big friend of mine and played in my social band with Russ's brother after he stopped playing with the Kinks for a while. He wanted to earn some money still, and he played with us. He was a lovely guy, Mickey Avery of the Kinks, the drummer.
Mm-hmm. That was a quite a long period. It was probably all day and all of the night, wasn't it?
Oh God! Well, I thank you for the days. And that I spent with him, because he was a good guy. Do you know, he was another guy, Mick Avery, he wouldn't mind me telling you this either. When he joined our little outfit with Roy and myself, who lasted for a long time in the area and was very, very popular, Russell played with us most times anyway, because he just enjoyed being around us. We just enjoyed each other's company. And but he came from the Kinks to Mickey, and he was living in Hammersmith. He lost his driving license, and he used to ride 30 miles to North Hertfordshire to play in my little band, and then ride back on a bicycle, which was quite amazing. I mean, can you imagine that? A singer in the top 5 bands in the world, a drummer, should I say, in the top 5 bands in the world, was riding a bike to a gig in 1972, 73 or something like that, maybe more. And he was working at the post office to earn a few bob. I mean, gosh, I don't know whether you'd like to hear this, but I'm sure he would. He's such a genuine guy, Mick. But everything changed again for him. And I think Ray parted with a few bob and he got back on the road again,
It's a bit like back in the day, Mod, some of the footballers, you hear stories of some of the footballers actually going to the game on the tube, for example.
Of course. In my day, they used to get a bus.
Imagine that happening now. It'd be like.
Yeah, they used to get a bus to hire White Hart Lane. You used to get off the bus and go and play for Tottenham. Maybe call it for a pint first, and then go in and do the, do the game, and then go back in the pub, I suppose. Totally different world, mate.
It's so funny to hear these stories. I mean, you were playing with some of the superstars. I mean, if somebody is today talking about the Kings, Mick Avery, they are always saying, wow, what a drummer this guy was. And you were playing together with this guy. I mean, what about recording? I just want to jump back a couple of years.
Okay.
How was the recording of your Steaks and Chips album?
Well, when we first started, we made "Soon You Believe in Me" was our first single, which I sang, and I sang the next one, "Bad Time," which was probably the most popular of the Roulettes songs. But
good song.
Believe it or not, Russell was very, very shy. He won't mind me telling you this, because I did go through it with him. I said he was a very, very shy guy. He's very, very shy. He had this bad accent when he was a kid, which didn't do his eye much good, if you don't mind me saying so. And people used to mock him in the dark glasses sometimes. We used to say, it's not for looks, he's got a problem which he doesn't want to sort of share. And I think he really respected us for helping me out in that one as well, which was... But he was very shy. When we were on the stage sometimes, he'd sort of make his way to try and hide behind a speaker. He wasn't the front man, So I used to do all the singing. Eventually, he did a lot of the singing. And as you know, he eventually did all the singing because he was Russ Ballard of his own fame. And obviously a fabulous guy with a fabulous voice and a fabulous songwriting talent. And everything's fabulous. Apart from I don't like him because I'm jealous. And I want to tell you, I want to tell you this. We used to sleep together, not sleep together as such, but we used to room together. And I used to go to sleep first, and I used to dream a lot. And I'm sure, and I've never told him, this is the first world, this is a one-off. I've never told anybody this.
World exclusive.
You're going to get this.
World exclusive.
You're going to get this, whether you want it or not, you're going to get it, Russ Ballard, because I've had enough. I used to sleep before him, and I used to dream about writing songs. And I wrote a song called "Since You've Been Gone," and I wrote one called "God Made." This is my sleep, by the way. And I wrote "God Made Rock and Roll" and about 10 songs. And I'm sure he laid there in the other bed with a pencil and a tape recorder, and he taped them all, and they were my songs, and he pinched them. So, what do you think of that, Russ Ballard?
Mod, I think you should instruct lawyers in the morning. I really do.
One of the best kept secrets in rock and roll history.
Oh,
wow. That's it. So you wrote all the big hits.
I wrote all the songs. He took credit for them.
I think the original title when you dreamt it was "Since You've Been Mod," wasn't it?
It could well have been, yeah. And that's why I live in a small house in Suffolk, and he lives in the whole of Hertfordshire.
Yeah, but we all now will remember Mod gave rock and roll to us. I mean, that's it. Basically, that's it. You know?
Love it. Love it. It's about bloody time I was
It's great. It's great.
It's about time I was
idea.
recognised.
This is
You
all
can't talk me out of this. You can't talk me out of it.
This is all a tragedy. It's all a tragedy.
Yeah. Tell you what, when
it's only money. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only money. I
needed to get that off my chest. After all these years, I needed to talk about it.
Russell will enjoy listening to podcasts. I mean, it's amazing.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Finally, the world knows about the a songwriter John Mod Rogan.
Exactly. After all this time.
Hi, I'm Russ Ballard, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast.
Well, we've had to pause it there for everyone listening, and that was John Mod Rogan giving us an exclusive and very, very wonderful insight to the world of mod, Sven, wasn't it? And we've got so much material. Don't worry, because there's more to come. We've decided to go into a second podcast with Mod. Isn't that right, Sven? We've got enough material for two podcasts, so we're gonna share the love, aren't we?
You know, the trouble. That sounds awful, but the trouble with Mod is Mod has tons of stories to tell, and we all love to hear his stories. So we couldn't just squeeze it in just one podcast. So yes, we will be back in, I would say, 2 weeks' time. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, we've decided that we've got lots of guests that want to come on the show, which is great, and to keep our guests sort of podcasts sort of close together to keep the theme so we don't forget. I think that's a really good idea. So we're going to be back on the 15th, released on the 15th of October. Is that right, Sven? Have I got that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
That
sounds good. So
podcast number 3, Mod number 2. Mod number 2.
Oh, that sounds complicated. Let's keep it as simple as possible. So we have Mod number 1 today on the 1st.
We hope you enjoyed it as much as we.
That was so good fun.
Tell you what, Sven, why don't we give them give everybody just a sneak preview of what Mod's got to say in his second podcast? What do you think? Should we do that?
Okay, I just need to check the clock. Is it late enough to give the best possible insight into pot 2? But anyway, I don't care about it. Let's give the people a good insight into pot number 2 coming now. Just push the play button.
1, 2, 3, 4. What do you want if you don't want money? What do you want if you don't want gold? I wish I'd kept vodka. The kiss wasn't passionate.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that. We have some real great material for the next podcast with Mod, and there's so many quotes I'm tempted to sort of mention, but I perhaps ought not to really. I mean, do you think that Russ was the white Stevie Wonder? Oh, sorry, I've let another quote out, haven't I?
Yes,
or maybe Stevie Wonder was the black Russ Ballard.
That sounds better to me. Yeah, tons of great stories to tell from Mod. We all look forward to hearing more Mod stories. Russ, the Roulettes, Mod's time after the Roulettes, learning a little bit about what is Mod doing today, where does he live, and so on. So thanks again, Mod, for taking the time speaking with us.
Indeed.
And we hear you again in 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks' time. So in the meantime, it's goodbye from Ian.
And a goodbye from Sven. And as always, Russ will close the show.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Russ Ballard, and you're listening to the Voices of Russ Ballard podcast.